At the very beginning of the movie, we meet a little girl who builds entire worlds out of scraps, cardboard, tape, and pure imagination. She sees things other people don't. She dreams bigger than the room she's standing in. Everyone around her can see it too. This girl is something special. But then life happens, and by the time we catch up to her as an adult, that same brilliant girl is now a woman who can't find a single hour in the day that belongs to her. Not one. And here's the twist. The thing that finally breaks her free from all of it? A mop. Yes, a mop. But stay with me, because this is one of the most incredible true stories you've probably never heard told properly. This is Joy, and this is her story. Joy Mangano, a woman who once had the kind of potential that makes teachers pull parents aside after class. But somewhere between childhood dreams and adult responsibilities, Joy's life got buried under everyone else's needs. At the beginning of the movie, we see Joy on what should be one of the happiest days she'll ever witness, her daughter's wedding. The decorations are up, the music is playing, the guests are smiling. And then, out of nowhere, Joy's father steps forward and says something so cold, so calculated, it stops the entire room dead in its tracks. He looks his daughter in the eye and says, "This marriage is going to end in divorce." Not quietly, not in private, right there, in front of everyone. The daughter is furious. She shoves him. He stumbles back, and when he rights himself, he's holding a broken wine glass. And he repeats his prediction with even more conviction. Because in his world, love without money is just a ticking clock. And wouldn't you know it? He's right. Joy's marriage crumbles under the weight of everyday life. On one side, there are kids who need her constantly. On the other, a husband named Tony, who means well, but can't seem to keep himself together long enough to actually help. The romance evaporates, the exhaustion sets in, and Joy, always the one who sees what needs to be done, makes the hard call. She files for divorce. You'd think that would feel like freedom. But freedom, it turns out, is expensive. Tony has no income, no plan, and nowhere to go. So he moves into Joy's basement, because of course he does. And then, because life apparently decided Joy hadn't been tested enough, her father Rudy gets kicked out by his girlfriend. But he shows up at Joy's door with his suitcase and his charm and absolutely zero shame. Joy being Joy lets him in. Now here's where things get truly chaotic. The moment Rudy and Joy's mother Terry are in the same house, it's like dropping a match into a gas tank. These two have history, bad history. They argue about everything. Rudy starts smashing things around the house. The tension is constant, palpable, exhausting. So Joy does what she always does. She problem solves. She draws a line, literally, with toilet paper. She marks out separate territories in the basement, one side for Tony, one side for Rudy, just to keep the peace. Meanwhile, Joy's mother, Terry, is no help at all. She is completely retreated into a world of television soap operas, physically present, but emotionally unavailable. And she watches fictional families deal with their problems on screen, while her real daughter drowns right in front of her. And then there's Peggy, Joy's half-sister, who takes every opportunity she can to whisper poison into the ears of Joy's children. Subtle digs, little remarks. The kind of person who smiles at your face and sharpens her nails behind your back. Joy works as a ground crew member for a budget airline. She gave up college to hold her family together, and now she's out here every day dealing with difficult passengers, standing on her feet for hours, running on empty. She comes home to a house full of chaos, cleans up after people who should be cleaning up after themselves, tries to tuck her kids in, and then, just as she finally lies down, the exhaustion pulls her straight into a nightmare. In the dream, she walks into a church. There's a funeral happening. And when she looks into the open casket, she realizes with horror, they are mourning her. The younger version of herself. The version full of ideas and fire and potential. The version that got buried not by tragedy, but by 17 years of saying yes to everyone else and no to herself. That dream lands like a punch to the stomach. And for Joy, it becomes a mirror she can't look away from. Here's where things take a turn. And it starts with a boat. Rudy, ever the charmer, has been spending time with a wealthy woman named Trudy. He's smooth, magnetic, and completely in his element, wooing someone with money. Trudy is swept up by him and, on an impulse, invites the whole family out to her luxury yacht for a day on the water. For a moment, just a moment, Joy gets to breathe. The sun is out, the boat is beautiful. Tony even shows up with a crate of wine to keep the mood light. Everyone's laughing. Joy almost looks relaxed, and then a wave hits. Wine glasses slide and shatter across the deck. Red wine spreads across the white floor. And while everyone else continues the party, Joy, because of course it's Joy, Phonim picks up a mop and starts cleaning. She wrings the mop with both hands, trying to squeeze the liquid out, and that's when it happens. Hidden inside the wet mop head are shards of broken glass. They slice right into her palms, cutting her hands open. Blood everywhere. She stares at her bleeding hands. And instead of anger, instead of despair, something clicks. What if there was a mop that you never had to touch with your hands? What if the whole system was redesigned from the ground up? For people like her. People who do the work every single day and get hurt doing it. The idea takes root instantly. Joy doesn't journal about it. She doesn't wait. She grabs her daughter's crayons that same night and starts sketching. A telescoping handle. A self-wringing mechanism. No bending, no wringing with your hands, no mess, no blood. She visits a repair shop and starts welding the prototype herself. She measures out 91 meters of pure cotton thread, wraps it 40 times around the mop head for maximum absorbency, and attaches it to the pole. The world's first self-wringing Miracle Mop is born in a kitchen by a woman who just wanted to stop hurting herself doing chores. But here's the problem. A brilliant idea without capital is just a fantasy. And so Joy does something terrifying. She approaches Trudy and asks for investment. She lays out her case, methodically, confidently, clearly, and Trudy is genuinely impressed. Until Peggy opens her mouth. Right there in the room, her own half-sister jumps in and suggests that she should be handling the business instead, because Joy has no experience. The audacity is breathtaking, but Trudy doesn't reward it. Instead, she turns to Joy and asks a single question that will define whether or not Joy is built for this world. She asks, if you were in a room with a business rival, a gun on the table, and only one of you could walk away, would you pick it up? Joy doesn't flinch. She doesn't hesitate. I pick up the gun. Trudy smiles. That's exactly the answer she was looking for. The partnership moves forward, but almost immediately, it hits a wall. Trudy's legal team discovers that someone in Hong Kong has already filed a patent for something similar. To protect her design, Joy needs to pay a patent protection fee. She pays it without blinking, trusting that the process is legitimate. It is not, but she doesn't know that yet. For now, Joy is focused on production. She hires a group of women, housewives just like herself, and trains them to assemble the mops. Watching them work, seeing their energy and focus, Joy feels something she hasn't felt in years. She feels useful, valued, like herself again. Even Rudy, watching from the sidelines, feels a flash of real pride in his daughter. But the factory that produces her parts runs into issues during prototyping, 4 failed attempts, and then tries to pass those losses directly onto Joy. She knows the failures weren't her fault. She refuses to pay, cleanly, firmly, without drama. A small but significant moment, Joy is learning to hold her ground. Now comes the part of the story that would have broken most people. Joy tries to sell the mop through a grocery store partnership and gets told the shelves are locked up by large corporations. She'd need to go through them first. She tracks down one of those corporations and pitches the mop, only to be told the $20 price point leaves no profit margin for them. And then, just to twist the knife, the company representative tells her a housewife belongs at home. Joy walks out of that meeting and straight into a shopping mall. She sets up outside the entrance and starts pitching the mop herself to strangers passing by. People barely glance at her, so she improvises. She pulls in her best friend to do the live demonstration while Joy and her daughter pretend to be ordinary customers watching. It works. A crowd gathers, people are genuinely interested, and then the police arrive. They confiscate her supplies and scatter the crowd. Joy goes home that night holding nothing but debt collection notices and a child running a fever. She is exhausted in a way that goes beyond physical, and she is right on the edge. But then the doorbell rings. It's Tony. Her ex-husband, the man she had to divorce just to survive, shows up with something she didn't expect. genuine care. He'd seen what happened to her that day, and he wasn't going to walk away from it. He introduces Joy to a friend of his named Neil, a television home shopping executive with a nose for products that connect with real people. Neil controls a massive sales channel. Nearly every product he personally selects becomes a bestseller, and he agrees to give Joy exactly 5 minutes. Joy walks into that room and delivers her pitch. She's clear. She's knowledgeable, she's passionate. But the men around the table have never mopped a floor in their lives, and to them, this product is a non-issue. Neil rejects the deal, saying the plastic looks cheap. Joy doesn't crumble. She looks Neil in the eye and says, "As someone who does housework every single day, I understand this problem better than anyone in this room. The lightweight plastic is the feature, not the flaw. It fits perfectly in a woman's grip. I made this mop because it is better than anything else out there. Please, give me a chance." Something in Neil shifts, and he takes her to a white room and asks her to demonstrate. She mops effortlessly. No bending, no hand contact, no mess. Neil watches, and by the end, he's sold. He offers her a live TV shopping segment and tells her to prepare 50,000 mops. Joy stands there in total disbelief. 50,000 units. That's enormous. That's terrifying. She has no funds to cover production at that scale. She agrees anyway. To get the money, Joy goes back to Trudy, who refuses to take on the full risk without Joy covering half. So Joy mortgages her house, her only house. She puts every single thing she owns on the line. Win, life changes completely. Lose, she walks away with nothing but debt. The broadcast day arrives. Joy's entire family crowds around the television, holding their breath. And then the salesperson starts his demo. When he has never cleaned anything in his life, it shows. He fumbles the mop. The demonstration falls apart in real time, live on national television. Instead of showcasing the product's genius, he manages to make it look ridiculous. Sales, 0. Joy watches 50,000 unsold mops and $200,000 of debt materialize out of thin air. Neil calls immediately and with stunning coldness reminds her that the contract protects the network, not her. The failure is hers to own. Her family piles on. Her father tells her to file for bankruptcy. He says he shouldn't have encouraged her, that he'd given her false hope by letting her believe she could do this. That scene, that moment, it is gut-wrenching. But Joy gets up the next morning and walks straight back into Neil's office. She demands a second chance. She insists on going on air herself. Neil pushes back. The stage isn't for inventors, it's for professionals. Joy stops him cold. Who showed you the mop? Who sold it to you? Who taught you how to use it? And who convinced you it was great after you thought it was worthless? Neil has no answer. He gives her the slot. At the TV station, they try to dress Joy up in corporate clothes to make her look polished and prestigious. She declines. She shows up in her everyday clothes because she's not a celebrity. She's a housewife who solved her own problem, and she wants every woman watching to know that. The stage rotates, the lights hit her, and Joy freezes. The room goes silent. Neil is visibly panicking, and then the phone rings. It's her best friend calling in as a viewer. She describes her own experience wringing a mop, cutting her hands on broken glass, or needing something better. And hearing that familiar voice, Joy comes back to herself. She dives in, she pours syrup on the floor, baby food. She wipes it up in a single effortless stroke, wrings it dry without touching the mop head, and detaches the mop head to show it's machine washable. She doesn't perform. She connects. She tells her story. She explains why she built this thing. Her eyes are alive with something you cannot fake. Phones start ringing. Orders pour in. Within minutes, 30,000 units sold. 10 minutes later, all 50,000 mops are gone. Joy has done it, but the story isn't over, because success has a way of attracting exactly the kind of people you thought you'd left behind. As Joy's business grows, the parts supplier hikes his prices. Joy's father, without asking her, assigns Peggy to handle the negotiations. And Peggy, whether out of incompetence or something worse, not only accepts the price hike, but also agrees to pay the disputed fees Joy had already refused. Joy confronts the situation directly. She flies to California to negotiate face-to-face with the factory owner. He stonewalls her, tells her to take it to court. She steps into the restroom to collect herself and stumbles upon a hidden door. She pushes through it. On the other side, a production workshop. And on the wall, the blueprints for her mop components, with the factory's name on the patent, her design. their name. When Trudy's lawyers investigate, the full picture emerges. When Joy paid that initial patent protection fee, the process was handled in a way that inadvertently transferred her design rights to the other party. While every component Joy created is now legally registered under someone else's name, she is told either file for bankruptcy or take it to court knowing she'll probably lose. Under that pressure, with her family urging her to give up, Joy signs the bankruptcy papers. And as the pen hits the page, something inside her breaks open. She falls apart completely. Then she goes quiet. She cuts off her hair, long, deliberate snips. A ritual goodbye to the version of herself that let the world walk all over her. And then she gets to work. Joy locks herself in a room and spends days, weeks, studying patent law. She reads everything, she traces every transaction. And eventually, she finds him, the agent behind the patent scheme. She arranges a meeting. The man threatens her to her face. He implies that she could disappear, that people might think she came to Dallas in financial despair and did something desperate. He is trying to scare her. Joy looks at him with absolute calm. Then she lays out exactly what she knows. The $50,000 patent protection fee she paid was pocketed by him personally. The competing Hong Kong patent he claimed to exist. There are no similar products in Hong Kong. It was all fabricated. A scheme. A fraud. She doesn't yell, she doesn't threaten. She simply says her lawyers could go after him. But she gave him one day to correct his mistake on his own. The man's arrogance crumbles. He offers $50,000 back. Joy doesn't move. He offers more. She waits. He keeps going until he's agreed to return her money and pay an additional $50,000 in compensation. He signs the papers with the look of a man who deeply regrets the day he chose Joy Mangano as his target. From that day forward, Joy's career becomes unstoppable. She builds a business empire on the foundation of one mop and a refusal to quit. She files hundreds of patents. She amasses a personal fortune of $150 million. In 2010, she is named the most creative entrepreneur of the year, and she doesn't forget where she came from. Joy funds ordinary people with real ideas, the ones the world hasn't noticed yet. She becomes the person she needed when she had nothing. This movie isn't really about a mop. It's about what happens when someone who was never supposed to win decides to stop asking for permission. Joy gave up her college dreams. She carried her family on her back for 17 years. She was dismissed, mocked, betrayed, and nearly destroyed. And through every single bit of it, she never stopped moving forward. There's a line near the end of the film that captures everything. Hope never stops. And as long as you start, it is never too late. Joy teaches us that ordinary people with screaming kids, impossible families, empty bank accounts, and hands cut up from doing the work, can build extraordinary lives. Not because the road gets easier, but because they get stronger. Now here's the thing. If you watched this entire breakdown and you still haven't subscribed to this channel, I genuinely don't know what else I have to do for you. Joy mortgaged her house for her dream. The least you can do is hit that subscribe button for free. And listen, I want to hear from you. What hit hardest in this story? Was it the moment Joy froze on stage? The basement territories marked with toilet paper? Or the scene where she cut her hair and decided enough was enough? Drop it in the comments. Let's talk about it. And if you've seen this movie, tell me, did it hit differently watching it the second time? See you in the next one.